Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1. We will present material about the application of grammar translation method in the teaching of reading for junior high school. Okay, before we start this presentation, first I will introduce the members of Group 1. The first is myself, Jyhan, Syahrina, and Adinda. And the second one is my friend Tiara Pramudhita, and the last one is Cindy Ariska. Okay, the first material in this presentation are introduction and experience of GTN. Introduction. The grammar translation method is not new. It has had different names, but it has been used by language teachers for many years. Earlier in the 20th century, this method was used for the purpose of helping students to read and appreciate foreign language literature. It was also hoped that through the study of the grammar of the target language one, students would become more familiar with the grammar of their native language and that this familiarity would help them speak and write their native language better. The class is a high intermediate level English class at a university in Colombia. Experience. The teacher helps him with new vocabulary items. When the students have finished reading and translating the passage, the teacher asks them in Spanish if they have any questions, in addition to questions that ask for information contained within the reading passage. The students answer to other types of questions. If the answer is correct, the teacher calls on another student to read the next question. The students see the words ambition, career, warmth, tranquil, churches, latte, envy, and humbly, noisy, ugly, and proudly, and are directed to find the opposites of these words in this passage. The English, or TY, she says, for example, often corresponds to the Spanish endings that and that. The teacher asks the students to find other examples in the excerpt. Hands go up, a boy answers. Obscurity bites, says the teacher. After reading over the rule and the examples, the students are asked to tell which of the following two word verbs taken from the passage are separable and which inseparable. Finally, they are asked to put one of these phrasal verbs in the blank of each of the 10 sentences they are given. When the students are finished with this exercise, they read their answer aloud. Okay, next, in the two remaining lessons of the week, the students will be asked to write out the translation of the reading passage in Spanish, state the rule for the use of a direct object with two word verbs, and apply it to other phrasal verbs. And do the remaining exercises in the chapter that include practice with one set of irregular past participle forms. The students will be asked to memorize the present tense, past tense, and past participle forms of this irregular predicate, like drink sing, drunk sang, drunk sung. Write a composition in the target language about an ambition they have. Memorize the remaining vocabulary items and write sentence for each. And last, take a quiz on the grammar and vocabulary of this chapter. They will be asked to translate a Spanish paragraph about steamboats into English.
Okay. I'm Tiara Pramudhita and I will continue to explain the material. The second section is about the principles of GTM or grammar translation method. And there are 10 principles of grammar translation method. One is the goals of the teachers who use the grammar translation method. Two, the role of the teacher and the students. Three, some characteristic of the teaching or learning process. Four, the nature of student-teacher interaction. Five, the feelings of the students dealt with GTM. Six, the language and culture viewed. Seven, language skills are emphasized. Eight, the role of student native language. Nine, evaluation accomplished. And the last is teachers respond to student errors. The first principle is the goals of teachers who use the grammar translation method. What is the goals of teacher who use the grammar translation method? The goals of teachers who use the grammar translation method, fundamental purpose of learning a language is to be able to read literature written in the target language. To do this, students need to learn about the grammar rules and vocabulary of the target language. And the second principle is the role of the teacher and the students. The roles are very traditional. The teacher is the authority in the role of the teacher and the students in the classroom. The students do as she says so they can learn what she knows. Third principle is some characteristic of the teaching or learning process. Students are taught to translate from one language into another. Often what they translate or readings in the target language about some aspect of the culture of the target language community. Students study grammar deductively, that is, they are given grammar rules and examples or taught to memorize them and then they are asked to apply the rules to other examples. They also learn grammatical paradigms such as verb conjugation. They memorize native language equivalents for target language vocabulary words. The first principle, the nature of student-teacher interaction. Most of the interaction in the classroom is from the teacher to the student. There is little student initiation and little student-student interaction. Principle, the feelings of the students dealt with GTM. But there are no principle of the method which relate to this area. Next, the language and culture view on GTM. Literary language is considered superior to spoken language and is therefore to the language the students study. Culture is viewed as consisting of literature and the fine arts. Language skill are emphasized. What language skill are emphasized in grammar translation method? There are first vocabulary, second grammar, third reading skill, literary text reading, fourth writing skill or comprehension question and composition writing. The role of students' native language. The first is language of classroom interaction between teacher and students. Second, language used for understanding and translating the foreign language text. Evaluating accomplished in GTM. The first is written test focusing and translation from one language to the other. Second, questions about foreign language culture. Third, question on the application of foreign language grammar rules. And the last principle is teach how to teachers respond to student errors. The first is correction emphasized or appreciated. Second is errors as unnecessary and signs of failure. The third is accuracy to be attained. And the last is teachers know the right answer. So that's all about the principle of grammar translation method. And the next section of the presentation will be presented by Cindy Ariska. Thank you.
Reviewing the techniques, advantage, disadvantage, and conclusion. What is techniques? What is a being taught? How it is taught? What activity used? What exercise done? Below is an expanded description of some of them techniques. 1. Translation of literary passage. Reading skills emphasize literary text as core text for grammar and vocabulary practice. Translation may be spoken or written, phrasal verb and idioms, not to be literally translated, by meaningfully understood in mother tongue. 2. Reading comprehension question. Purpose to check understanding of the passage. First type of question. Information question from the text, and for example, when did Mark Twain live? Second type of question. Inference question based on understanding of the passage. And for example, do you this the boy ambition? Why or why not? Third type of question. Relate the passage to the personal experience and for example, have you ever thought of running away from home? 3. Antonyms or synonyms. Student given a set of words and asked to search antonym from the text. Student given a set of words and asked to search synonyms from the text. Define difficult words from the text. Other vocabulary exercise. 4. Cognates. Students are taught to recognize the spelling sound pattern which are similar in foreign language and mother tongue. English word possibility. TH. English word possibility. That. 5. Deductive application of rules. 6. Fill in the blanks. Use of preposition, verb, helping verb, pronouns, and other vocabulary exercise. 7. Memorization, vocabulary list, conjunction, 8. Sentence formation. And then 9. Composition, writing exercise that make use of word and structures learned from the text, and bridging student personal experience in advantage of GTM. The phraseology of the target language is quickly explained. Translation is the easiest way of explaining meaning or word and phrase from one language into another. Any other method of explaining vocabulary items in the second language is found time consuming. Teachers' labor is saved since the textbooks are taught through the medium of the mother tongue. The teachers may ask comprehension questions on the text taught in the mother tongue. Pupils will not have much difficulty in responding to questions on the mother tongue, so the teachers can easily assess whether the student have learned what he has taught them. And then disadvantage of GTM. It is an unnatural method. The natural order of hearing a language is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Speech is neglected. The grammar translation method lays emphasis on reading and writing. It neglects speech. Thus, the students who are taught English through this method fail to express themselves adequately in spoken English. Exact translation is not possible. Translation is indeed a difficult task, and exact translation from one language to another is not always possible. It does not give pattern practice. A person can learn a language only when he internalizes its pattern to the extent that they form his habit. But the grammar translation method does not provide any such practice to the learner of a language. It rather attempts to teach language through rules and not by use.